G'day fellas, welcome to a video where I'm going to be talking about water and dealing with water. We're currently live over on Twitch. I'm going to move you guys into the full screen so you guys can see everything. I'm also going to remove that scoreboard so it's out of your way. We're currently live over on Twitch. Come say g'day, and we'll see you over there. So first things first, when you're dealing with water, one of the big things is it's map dependent. Okay, now typically most maps are going to run very similar to like Florida. Okay, Florida, you've got this pool up the at the side of the map. So as an example, there's Florida, there's Carolina, which has got something similar. There is what other map is it? Carolina. There's another one that I'm thinking of. It's not. Is it Florida? We just did Florida. Anyway, then there's Korea as well, which is somewhat similar. Then you've got different maps like Malaysia, which has got 2 ponds in it, or Sagwanay. But each one is different, and each one can be fought differently. So we're going to just like start with the most basic one, and with that we'll talk about the 3 aspects of fighting against water. I did hit play. Okay, cool. I've hit play. So there are 3 primary aspects to fighting against water. So the first one, so let's go X marks the spot. And we'll do a whole lot of love as well. Should we do speed always wins? I kind of want to, but anyway, we'll move. We can just talk about it from this perspective. Okay. So the first thing fighting against water is the most obvious, and that is ships. So building a dock, training ships, or sending ships from the home city with a deck that's got water. That's the first thing. The second thing is targeting your opponent's docks with your land. Don't you love that? 37 seconds. Just run straight to the base. The second thing is targeting your opponent's docks with your land army. So that's... let's just do speed always wins. I just always get frustrated by the AI that they do stuff. So we're going to train up some units just so that we can talk about our units on the field as well. So get them out there. We'll turn speed always wins off. Alright, so we've got our land army, our opponent's water booming. How do we stop them from doing that? So the first thing that we can do is train a dock, attack them on water, try and shut them down this way. That may be problematic, so we might need to go and burn down their docks. That might be the second thing. And then the third thing is a bit more of an aggressive move, something that's not as commonly seen. And that's where you actually build infrastructure on the water to counter the opponent's water. Now, you can actually do all 3 of these things at the same time, and that's what I call the triple-pronged attack. So... let's just going over those. So you've got, whoa, Zoomnig coming in and saying, you indeed, my friend. Thank you very much for the tier 1. That's the 3rd month in a row. Very, very sweet of you. So let's say your opponent is on water. They're doing their water boom. They've got everything going on out here. Maybe they're Portuguese. Maybe they've got a town center right here. Okay. So what you can do is you can ship caravels from the home city. Okay, and you can time this with an attack that you've potentially built up on, say, you've got this dock down here where you're training caravels, and you can so time that, so move your flag into position. So we've got our flag here, so move it up here. Our caravels in as well, and at the same time, bringing our settlers over, putting an outpost down, and starting to burn down the dock at the exact same time. Everything needs to happen at the same time. Because if you do one of these things by themselves, okay, what happens if your opponent, or if you start sieging down your opponent's dock, what's going to happen? You bring over your Carolians, or whatever unit it is that you use, you bring over your Carolians, and now all of a sudden, you've got caravels that are shooting you. And so now you're losing your your Carolians. Now, these Carolians might kill that dock, but instead of having 25 Carolians left, you're going to have 12 Carolians left, 11 Carolians left. And that's not optimal. You don't want to do that. Then, if your opponent, if you know your opponent's on the water, you want to try and gain some sort of control on the water, you can put down a tower. But you go and do this by yourself, and all of a sudden, if your opponent spots this, they're just going to start picking off the villagers. So now you've got a problem, because the villagers are just going to die. The tower's not going to get up. This tower takes a long time to build. Even with 4 villagers on it, takes a really, really long time to build. Now I'm just going to put an age up in queue as well, because we'll need to talk about an upgrade. Okay, so that's the second thing. And then the third thing is if you've got caravels out as well, if you go and fight your opponent, well, they're going to be able to fight you mono one-on-one. So the idea is that you want to try and split the opponent's attention and fire as much as possible so that you maximize your success. Because when your opponent is investing in water, okay, there is a reward, a risk versus reward, okay, and it takes time for them to fully take advantage of their water. They need to have a certain amount of time that they spend fishing on the resources before they're actually getting a reward out of it. And so now that we've aged up, we can talk about an upgrade. So ideally, what you're going to be doing is doing at least 2 of these 3 things. Okay, if you come in with your Corollians, start sieging down a dock, and at the same time, put an outpost down right next to it, your opponent immediately has to make a decision. Do I kill the Corollians that are burning down my dock? Do I kill the villagers that are putting up an outpost? And they're probably going to go for the villagers. So then, you're just going to pull back the villagers that are being targeted by the caravel. Now, that villager's probably going to die, but it's going to move the caravel in closer to land. And then you can shoot it with your Corollians. So that's potential. But ideally, you're going to be doing all 3 of these things at the same time. Even if it's as little as a frigate from the home city and moving 4 villagers over onto the edge and building and bringing your army. You're going to have some army from the Second Age or some army that's been moving around. So bring it over and make sure that it is over there, because then the caravel has to split its attention. So moving forward, so different civilizations have different strategies. So the next thing I want to talk about is the docks. Docks can be used as an aggressive component in a water strategy to defend. So for this, we're going to use the Portuguese, because Portuguese are the civilization that typically do it with their use of the advanced dock card. So let's talk about that. And instead of going on Florida, we're going to be playing on Malaysia, which is a very, very nice map for the Portuguese. Probably their best, I would probably say their best map. The Portuguese player on this map is going to be almost always going on water. It's like a bet 99% of the time. Except for when you get like that one player who just wants to go H4 and revolt for whatever reason. And so typically that's where they're going to be placing their second town center, the third town center. They might even place it more defensively or behind their town center like that, trying to secure their pond. We'll just put it over here for now. But typically you're going to see them open up with a dock that would look something like that. And then their second dock might be over here. Let me get it down. And then their third dock might be over here. And so the reason why is because you can actually use a dock as an outpost. And so there's a lot of different cheeky things that you can do with your docks. But what's going to happen, so let's turn Speed Always Wins on again. So if we just train up a whole bunch of fishing boats, we're just going to put them in the docks like that. Speed Always Wins. So just like a town center, your dock has an anti-ship attack when it's got a fishing boat inside. The base is 15. Okay, and then moving up towards 10, it goes up to 150. Now, if you put another fishing boat in there, it's still going to retain at 150. So I guess we can talk a little bit about like how would you take water on this map? So the same 3 principles. So you would be building, or actually we should probably get an army up as well, but we don't even need to. We can just talk about it. So whether that would be moving your flag and timing a shipment here, that's a very good option. So on this map in particular, okay, it might be really hard for you to break into this because your opponent's got, maybe they've got walls up, or maybe they've just got full coverage, or, you know, maybe they've got a frigate that's sitting in this pond and you just can't get in. They've got full line of sight here. How are you going to get in? What are you going to do? How can you possibly break this water hold that they've got here? And it can be really hard in this position because they might have a land army as well. So what you can do is you send your shipment. So that can be your privateers, a frigate, it can be caravels, it can be whatever you want. Okay, and you need to time this shipment. You can't let it go in by itself, okay? And then at the same time, you're bringing vils. Now you can bring 2 vils, 4 vils, 8 vils. Personally, I'd go with 4 vils. I think that's the most reasonable number because the idea is that you just want to establish a presence. That's simply it. You're establishing a presence so that you can take that over. So let's say that this is our opponent's base. It's all set up in this configuration right here, and we're playing as the enemy player. So I would be thinking, all right, I'm scouting that out. I'm bringing my army up at the same time, and I'm putting this down with 4 villages, okay? My opponent sees this. Maybe they start to shoot it down. Bam, right on top of them. 3 caravels on top of them. Now I've also got the Corollians, which are coming in to burn this dock down. Now, immediately with the dock, fishing boats get garrisoned in it, but that's okay. We can move our caravels out of the range of the dock. Okay, and still fighting with the frigate. At the same time, we've got our 4 settlers that are building up this outpost, and the caravel that was sitting here that was defending has now got to make a choice. Well, do I fight against these 3 caravels, which we're going to force him to do anyway, and do I focus down the villages that are building here? And if he chooses to focus down these villages, that's fine, because we're just going to focus him down with the caravel using our broadside attacks, bring the villagers back. Once he stops focusing the villagers, bring the villagers back up, and at the whole time, we've had our units that are burning down his dock. So that is the way that you would defend against it. Now, just because you're able to get a presence up on this shore, you're able to get caravels, doesn't mean that the game is won by any means. But it does mean that you're doing a lot better, because now your opponent has got to invest in water. Before, this was a pond that was just an empty pond that was being fished. Look how many fish are in here right now. We've got like, there is so many fish in here. There's 3 whales in here. There's a lot of resources, right? And they were only investing in resources to gather from here. But now they have to invest in resources to defend here. And all you've really used is a shipment and maybe 250 wood. Because, and you know, the villager seconds, because your units, they weren't really doing much anyway. They were just hanging out down at the town center. So now the opponent is going to have to invest resources, and this is where it starts to get into like metagaming, in that how much do you really want to commit to this? Because for me personally, on this map, I'm satisfied that my opponent will always retain control of this pond, especially if they're Portuguese. They will always retain control. You will never take this off them unless you're playing Inca. That's it. So let's say, you know, they overreact and they train 1 frigate, maybe they train a 2nd frigate, and they ship, you know, a frigate from the home city. I know that that's privateers, but like, we'll just say that, okay? So now they've invested 2,000 resources, okay? Literally 2,000 freaking resources right here. Why is that training so fast? Do we have speed always wins on? Is that why it's training so fast? Surely not. I got no idea why that's training so fast. Must be a Portuguese thing. Oh, maybe it's this. Was it this card? Nope. Anyway. So now they've trained 2 frigates, okay? So they've invested 2,000 resources. They've also invested a card, okay? So now what you can do is you can say, all right, that's fine. I'm happy to just give up my 3 frigates, or my 3 caravels. They're gone. This tower, yep, it's gone. But guess what? Now you've focused all of your efforts on the land, and you can focus on trying to get them off the land completely, trying to siege down all of these houses, all this infrastructure that they've put down. And sure, they're going to try and Turk as much as they can around the water, but this isn't a lot of resources, okay? This is a good amount of resources, but it's not a lot. It's not like Borneo. It's not crazy. They're not going to be able to go, woo, because that's the sound you make when you boom. That's not what they're going to be doing, okay? They've invested a lot of resources in this now, and as a result, it's resources that they haven't invested on the land. That's 2,000 resources there, and then a shipment. All right, I think that's the lecture done for now. I hope that answers your question as to how to deal with water, how to fight water, and really the focus on that 3-pronged attack. Once again, so that's the land military attacking docks, that is your land settlers building outposts, and that is you timing either a shipment of frigates or caravels or privateers with your own navy, if you've built that up. If you haven't, that's also okay. And really hitting your opponent with 3 attacks at the same time, dividing their attention as much as possible so that you can begin to build a foothold, force them to invest in water, and then if you want to continue investing in water, you can. As I mentioned with the outpost here, you can go further than that. You can bring up 10 villages, you can put down a dock of your own, and you can put another outpost behind it. You can chuck up a town center if you want as well. I think we've already got a town center over here, but you know, you can throw down another town center as well. But I wouldn't recommend it, especially on a map like this. It's just not worth it, in my opinion. There's not enough resources in here that are worth investing for you. If you can get control of this pond, sure, it's going to be great for you. But at the end of the day, it's just, in my opinion, it's just not worth it. There's only 3 whales. It's not a big deal. But anyway, that concludes the lecture. I hope that you've enjoyed it. If you're watching this back on YouTube, come over to Twitch. We're live right now, so come say good day. And other than that, I think it's time that we get back into a game.